Chapter 1. The sound shook through me. The thrust of air, then the anxiety. It made me feel claustrophobic. I'd been all right up until that point. Then the wind decided to blow my hair across my face, leaving some in my mouth. Hair muddled with a taste of jet fuel. I remember instantly wanting to gag. My heels wobbled underneath me as I did my best to walk steadily. I wasn't a nervous flyer or anything like that. I'd just never flown alone before. I must have been mad to be strolling along in my white heels. I had always liked the old-fashioned idea of dressing up to travel. Bit of a joke, really. I was likely the only person wearing stilettos across the runway to climb up into a plane that day. The clamber to find the right seat hadn't changed much at the tail end of a pandemic. Social distancing was almost a thing of the past, but many were still wearing morbid-looking face masks, as though half the passengers were off to perform surgeries. The masks were still on. After removing the hair from my mouth, mine was back on too. It was black, with a small butterfly motif, my small ray of hope. I sat down. I don't remember the seat number, only it was on the right. I hadn't even been on public transport for well over a year. I could feel myself twitch and hold my breath with each person who brushed my skin. Unfortunately, I'd been placed between the cliché crying baby and the guy with long legs and pointy elbows. My usual level of luck. In one sly move, I managed to grab the in-flight magazine for distraction. I was pretending to flick through it when I noticed her stare. I felt the warm points of someone's eyes lingering far too long on my skin. It made me uncomfortable before I truly knew why, before I knew she was watching me. Then I could see her above the seats, 2 rows ahead, across to the left. She was shifting about, sometimes eyes between the seats, then looking right over the top of them. She didn't look away from me. Even children normally have the common decency to look away when you look back at them, and she wasn't a small child. She must have been around 12? She was beautifully tanned, with bright green eyes and long dark hair. I sent her a quick smile with the corners of my eyes as she bobbed above her seat, then returned my focus blankly to the magazine. The girl only stopped observing me when the seatbelt sign came on and we all mindlessly watched the flight attendants point to the exits. She unnerved me. The girl. I don't know why, but she did. She felt too young to be so calm and too old not to know better than to stare. Luckily, the rest of the flight came and went pretty uneventfully, other than my being dribbled on by the sleeping baby. My shoes were squeaking during the short walk from passport control to baggage claim. Perhaps it was because my feet had swollen a little on the aeroplane, or maybe it was the silky flooring. Either way, I was a walking music box that had gone out of tune. All I needed was someone to tell me my skirt was tucked into my knickers and I'd tick all the boxes of embarrassing. At least I could blame my flushed cheeks on the heat. In the small airport on Corfu, there wasn't the mixture of attire found at Stansted, where people were going to various types of destinations. I really was the only person not in flip-flops, sliders, or sandals. Each step seemed to result in yet another head snapping around to see what the problem was. Only me. I lugged my case off the belt and marched in a bid to escape from my own noise. One hand was tugging at the bag, while the other thumbed through my emails to dissolve myself into my phone. I turned a sharp right out of baggage claim, and then it hit me. Or rather, he hit me. Like whack-a-mole gone wrong, popping up at the hammer. There was no way I could anticipate that someone would rear up in front of me just as I turned that corner. I let out a little involuntary screech. After a year of social distancing, his touch hit me like a cold shower. It sent a wave of goosebumps from the epicenter. I nearly lost my phone in the process. Okay, it's perfectly plausible that he may have been adjusting a shoe or picking up something he dropped, and I may have been too distracted by my phone. It still seems rather ludicrous to me. What a stupid place to stop. Either which way, he must have been the only person who hadn't heard my squeak coming from a distance. This slightly painful encounter left a hot patch on my arm from his hard head. Then I noticed her. Again. "Yes, As?" She looked right at me and spoke her Greek greeting in my direction, as though she knew me. Hi, and ouch. That's when I really looked at him. He was tall, maybe 6'4", with a tan to match the girls, and eyes just as green, like dark seaweed washed up on golden sands. "I'm so sorry, I didn't see you there." He started brushing me down as though I were a child, big hands sweeping my sore naked arm. "My name's Gaia." She spoke coolly, smiling, ignoring the man, ignoring the situation, just looking around him at me. "The Greek mother of all life?" I retorted, and couldn't help my tone or my face. The tone and my expression just slipped out of me and I couldn't catch them. A broad smile spread across her mask-free lips. "Something like that," she said. I was still being patted down, but I didn't notice much. "I'm so sorry." The man kept mumbling over and over again. "That's okay, don't worry about it." I did my best to hurry away from the beautiful pair, yanking my case around a flimsy barrier, nearly taking it with me. Only a few steps to the exit. I didn't need confusing thoughts in my mind, so my squeak and I left the man and the girl with little more than a polite nod and a panicked look. Hopefully, well hidden behind my cotton face mask. I decided to take one last glance back as I left the airport. The girl was watching me with a smile. He looked as bewildered as me, as a sea of people from our plane was managing to do what I had not, navigate around them seamlessly. The transfer driver had spelt my name quite wrong. How many L's did Melody Pelletier really need? Surely 3 was plenty. Apparently not. But I didn't care, and I didn't correct the names scrawled on the sign. I was just happy to be away from the airport, away from England, and away from the strange encounter. I was desperately trying to hold on to the driver's words while he chatted about practicing his English. I think he said his name was Spiros. For the most part, the words were rushing past me with the people and the trees. He was a squat little man, with one chubby hand on the steering wheel and the other waving around as he spoke. He looked as though he had somehow been condensing over time. I managed to absorb that his livelihood, like that of many others, had been hit by the recent pandemic, and so now he was perfecting his English and had taken on a second job as a driver. He was sweet, and reminded me why I love Greek people so much. They are totally welcoming, and totally free from the nonsense of the world. Perhaps those worry beads jangling from the mirror really did help. Maybe I should have got some. We pulled up at my destination in a place called Astrakeri. As he took my bag from the boot of his well-kept Mercedes, the driver turned to me and gave me his card, sincerely reassuring me that if I needed anything, to just call. He'd be happy to help. His kindness wasn't refreshing, not here in Corfu. It was the beautiful norm. Then he was gone, and I was alone.